again, we are on the Tama Superstar storyline. To catch everyone up, the vintage Tama Superstar was the one kit I dreamed of owning back when I first got into drums in the early 2000s. I didn't know anything about drums back then, but something about the old ads and the old photos of these kits had me hooked. These kits just had an attitude about them that the other brands lacked, and these drums are a big reason why I consider myself a Tama guy, even though I had no idea what they sounded like. Fast forward a bunch of years and I finally found a kit worthy of buying, and the first thing I did was throw on a set of CS dots because that's what the old ads had on them, and I was finally able to experience my dream kit. Shortly after that, I had the opportunity to check out a Superstar Classic, which when compared to a vintage Superstar, they're nothing alike. So what I want to find out is, did Tama redeem themselves with the Superstar reissue they put out this year for their 50th anniversary? So that brings us to today. I finally found a 50th anniversary kit for a halfway decent price, so I jumped on it. Also, this is the first test of the Jimmy as a drum Holland machine, so we'll see how it does. Alright, first test is, will this window go down? There she goes. Ignore all that. Sweet, appreciate it. The kit has been secured. A little sneak peek. Also, this happened, but let's get into this kit first. Super Mahogany. It is so weird to see a Superstar in brand new condition. I cannot get over the finish on this thing. I mean, look at the tin, it's like a piece of marble. At first, I was a little bit bummed that I could only get a Super Mahogany finish because I've always been a Super Maple guy, but I think I just changed my mind. Ooh, and the insides of the shells too? I forgot they did that. Yep, definitely a fan of the Mahogany. I mean, just look how nice this finish is. Now, one slightly confusing thing about the Superstars are the finish names. This kit has the Super Mahogany finish, and my vintage kit has the Super Maple finish. But both the vintage and the reissue kits are made of birch. So if you see one of these kits for sale and you think, oh wow, that's a Mahogany kit, or oh sweet, I've been wanting a Maple kit, just know that these are birch shells that are stained. And as far as the other stuff that this kit comes with, all the toms have Remo ambassadors on the batter and resso. Bass drum resso is also an ambassador with a nice big logo on it, and the kick batter is a Remo Power Stroke 3 coated. Got the floor tom hoops, floor tom legs, double tom mount that mounts onto the bass drum. Came with a little bag of these little postcards. They're not actually postcards. 94 Star Classic with the Octobons, an 83 Art Star. Ah, the Tech Star. I forgot about these things. I think that's supposed to say Iron Cobra. Oh, you play Iron Cobras? I play the Ron Cobras. And of course, they had to have a Superstar with the laser beams in the back. Yep, I'll be sure to hold on to these and then throw them on eBay in about 50 years and sell these for $5,000. But that's not all. We have a few boxes to get into. And what do we have here? This better be some high-tech fancy key. Ooh, look at this thing. It's red, my least favorite color. I'm guessing this is supposed to match the finish of the kit, so any 50th anniversary kit owners out there, let us know what color your drum key is. This will also get stashed away to go on eBay in about 100 years from now. And we got one more box. Dang, look at that packaging. Also, look at this. They give you 2 normal tension rods without the T-handle. And my regular viewers should know exactly why they include these. As similar as the reissue looks to the vintage kit, they're not exactly the same, so let's take a look at some of the differences. The reissue has a more modern style spur, while the vintage has the old slide out style. Bass drum T-handles are smooth on the reissue, and the vintage has a rough texture. Bass drum tom mount is totally different in size and shape, and same can be said for the arm itself. The screws on the reissue are a more modern black hex head screw, while the vintage kit has pan head screws with some sort of plating on them. Floor tom legs on the reissue are called the air pocket legs. They have a two-piece foot, which probably does something to decouple the drum from the ground or something. Then the legs on the vintage kit have these adjustable feet that expose a point if you're on carpet, or you can go full rubber if you're on a hard surface. The reissue has their current style of wing nut, which you see on the hardware and other kits, but personally I like the vintage wing nuts better. They just have more class and are less blobby. Yes, all that stuff is pretty trivial, but these next two are definitely the biggest differences between the reissue and the vintage. First being the bearing edges. I would consider these a more modern edge. The current trend seems to be going towards a smaller edge, or at least a smaller outside cut. Most modern drums have outside cuts that are so small you can barely even see them. This kit does have a larger roundover on the outside, but when you look at the vintage kits, those roundovers are huge. I'm not saying that these edges are bad, I mean they're cut beautifully, I'm just saying that they're different. And the second being the badges. As identical as the badges and air vents look, there is one small tiny little difference. Can you spot it? The old kits were made in Japan, while the reissues are made in Tama's China factory. Which, yeah, that sucks, but from what I can see, they really don't seem to lack in quality, and also the reissue snares are made in Japan, so there is that at least. And I think the reason for these changes is pretty obvious: the price. Would having period correct wing nuts sell more kits? Probably not. And don't get me wrong, they did plenty of right things with the reissue, which I'll talk about in a bit. But the kit retails for just under $2,000, and if it was made in the Japan factory, it would probably cost double if I had to guess. This is a limited edition kit, so to me, it does make sense to go all out and do things the proper way. But at the same time, I feel like the mainstream doesn't really care about the superstars or know enough about them, and the ones that do know about them already own one. I mean, the kit I got came from a Sam Ash that was closing in a different state that shipped a bunch of inventory to the store near me, where I was able to buy it for like 40% off, and without that discount, I wouldn't have bought it, because I already own one. And speaking of Sam Ash, everyone probably knows by now that all Sam Ash stores are closing, so I was able to grab the step ladder from them to keep in the vault. I've been going to that store forever. The first drum set I ever got that my mom bought me came from that store. The first drum set I ever bought with my own money came from that store. I've met a lot of cool people there, I've made a lot of friends there, so it is sad to see it go. At least now I have the step ladder to symbolize those memories. This setup is slightly hodgepodged at the moment, and I do not plan to keep it that way. When I bought this kit, it came as a 12, 16, and 22. Then I bought this snare from a subscriber, and this is easily my favorite snare. And then shortly after that, someone offered me an 18-inch floor tom, and this 13 is from that kit I showed in the beginning of the video. I really don't need this kit, but it was on Marketplace for cheap enough that it was worth it for me to snag just to have two toms for this video, and to be honest, I'll probably sell it afterwards. As much as I hate 13s and would love to find a 10 for this kit, that's pretty wishful thinking. Which takes us to this kit. I really do feel like they nailed the sizes on the reissue. Back in the day, every drum possible was milked out of the Superstar line. On one extreme, you have the bop kits or even the Elvin Jones model with a tiny little bass drum, which even though the smaller bass drums and 14-inch floor toms are on the top of the rare list today, Tama still offered them. Then take Neil's kit, bigger 24-inch kicks, standard rack tom sizes, along with a random 15-inch tom, and even some concert toms. Then take the large Superstar. You want power toms? Tama's got power toms. You need some timbales to match your kit? Hopefully you have a super mahogany, since that's the only finish they offered. And I don't think the gong drums were technically part of the Superstar line, but they came in Superstar finishes. On the reissue, these are the only sizes you get. No add-ons, no power toms, no concert toms, just 10, 12, 16, 22. And by the way, this is the fake bell brass that I showed in another video. 1012 is the new 1213, so I really can't complain about that. It's hard to beat a 16x16, and 22s have kind of always been the norm. Also, they did get the depth right. Imagine if they made this a 22x18. The lugs are spot on and even have the same hole spacing. The mounts are spot on, minus the wing nuts. The diagonal seams on the veneers, both inside and out, are correct. The logos on the head are spot on, and even the big logo on the bass drum is spot on. Notice how the T logo is straight up and down. At some point after the Superstar, they changed up the T logo a little bit and italicized it so that it matched the angle of the text. So shout out to the guy in Photoshop that spent 5 seconds to make it right. Both of these are super solid kits, and I'd be happy to own either one of them, but if I had to pick just one, it would be the vintage kit. Especially if I could find a 10-inch for it. So drop a comment and let me know which one you'd rather play.